Welcome back. Let's start with the physical side of benzo withdrawals and break down the hows and whys of your bodily changes through this so-called benzo flu. For some, the physical withdrawals are the hardest to wade through. To others, the withdrawals barely have physical symptoms at all. So right off, let's not plant a seed in your head that your body is going to fall apart, okay? I won't lie, physically I really suffered, but after about a month, most symptoms had nearly subsided and I got down to the hard work of rebuilding my life. I alluded to this earlier, but if I could sum up to a stranger what benzo withdrawals feel like, I'd use one word, and that word is raw. Everything is more raw. Irritants are more irritating. The sun burns you more, the cold bites you harder. Pain hurts more and seemingly lingers longer. Aches are hyper-focused and harder to ignore. Withdrawals left me incredibly exhausted but restless and way more anxious and on edge. I was just a mess, but like I said, I did it all wrong. We're going to work hard to make sure we spare you the same fate. With that being said, let's jump into the physical symptoms common in benzo withdrawals. The gut may be a good place to start. It is strongly linked to benzo withdrawal. For many of us, anxiety sits in our gut, and when the benzos are taken away, it responds in kind. A lot of folks complain of gut pain and withdrawals. You may also experience something called benzo bloat, which will painfully distend your stomach. From those I've talked to, it's very uncomfortable and sort of comes and goes. My dear friend Faith will address ways around this later in the survival guide, or at least ways to ease it. If you are suffering from any of these gut-related issues, it may also help to limit your diet during withdrawals. It may not be the time to indulge in chili dogs or jalapenos, is all I'm saying, or you might pay for it. And if you're anything like me, this may be easy because during your withdrawals, you often won't find yourself hungry. I find this amusing now, as I'm always hungry. You could have put a steaming pizza in front of me during withdrawals and I'd show no interest in it. These days, it wouldn't stand a chance. Jokes aside, most people going through a really protracted withdrawal will lose anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds, and this is just par for the course. Remember, your body is just confused and wants to reach homeostasis, that critical balance. It's actually wanting to fight for you to return to normal. In the meantime, it's very confused and is reacting in ways it usually wouldn't. It's not uncommon to suffer from all the following while withdrawing, so don't be alarmed. These withdrawals may include gastritis, diarrhea, nausea, reflux, and vomiting. I really struggle with nausea, and sometimes even the smell of food would turn my stomach. These issues are what I've termed peakers and will peak at your withdrawal height, then slowly subside. Jumping ahead. Ladies, I'm sorry. Women, as usual, experience some possible withdrawal issues men can't even imagine. Sorry, ladies, the universe knows you're tougher, I guess. Actually, we all know you're tougher. Benzo withdrawal can temporarily wreak havoc on menstruation, further adding to the experience. Many women report that their menstrual cycles were completely out of whack for quite a while. This can include heavier bleeding and even bleeding between menstrual cycles, but benzo experts stress this is very common. Many women report the discomfort of enlarged and tender breasts during the withdrawals as well. Sorry, ladies, I know you always deal with more. Both men and women may also experience various forms of groin pain, as withdrawals are notorious for inflaming this area of the body. I dodged this bullet, but many people, regardless of sex, will suffer from a temporary issue called pelvic floor dysfunction. Withdrawals may affect the pelvic floor and may make it hard to go to the bathroom for both urination and defecation. It's normal. All of this is normal. One day it'll just end, just like it never even happened. Likely you won't even realize you're just using the bathroom like a normal person again. It's all very bizarre, I know. Let's move north on the body now. There are many withdrawal symptoms that affect the ears, nose, mouth, and especially the eyes. If you know your anatomy, you know the eye shares a real close connection with your brain. Hell, they're literally attached. My eyes went crazy during withdrawals and really peaked in their craziness at about 3 weeks in. I wish I had known it was normal because it was really freaking me out. My eyes were extremely sore and dry, and my vision often went blurry for no explainable reason. This was troublesome to say the least, but later I learned it's perfectly normal. TV was my one thing because I couldn't focus to read a book, and at times I even found TV to be nearly impossible. Your eyes may even look different during withdrawals. My irises changed their color, going from a blue to a sort of a dishwater gray, then back again when it was all over. It's weird. Freaky stuff, but normal. It's completely normal. Speaking of freaky, this one may sound crazy, but I've talked to dozens of people who experience the same thing. You know how a yo-yo will go out and then come back, come out, back and back? My vision was doing this sometimes at the worst times possible. So after about week 3, I was sick of laying on my couch and decided it was time to get back to work. I was barely holding my life together, but decided this was a good idea for some reason. I don't know. Well, I showered, shaved, and dressed nice for this job interview to unload freight at a local big box store. You know, anything to get me moving and off my prison couch. When I got to the head honcho's office, all the withdrawal symptoms decided to strike at once, and I couldn't even answer this poor guy's questions. I know he was beyond confused at me, sitting across from him with my jaw all slack and not answering his interview questions. But I remember now this manager across his desk staring at me after I didn't answer, and his bald head just kept going in and out of my vision, real far, then real uncomfortably close, back and forth, back and forth. Needless to say, I didn't get the job, and life went on to yield better things. This could also bring up a good point, and this point is to be kind to yourself and don't rush your healing. You aren't likely to spring out of your bed like Charlie's grandfather in Willy Wonka. The healing is going to take the time it needs, and you can't rush it even if you tried. Your eyes are healing, as is your entire central nervous system. It's also not uncommon for objects, especially tall ones, to seemingly bend and move during withdrawals. Now, I'm a country boy, but many in cities say the buildings seem to close in on them and sort of lean in. It happened early on for me when I went to go check the mailbox, and the big oaks and elms all around me seemed to bend in like waves about to smash me to bits. I remember just staring at them like, wow, this is only going to hurt for a second. Needless to say, they didn't crush me, and that's why we're still talking today. Didn't care for that and went inside to my safe couch. Your eyes are going to settle eventually. Let's jump to your ears, as many in withdrawals complain of their ears going sort of haywire for a bit. Tinnitus is common during withdrawals. This is an irritating ringing or other incessant noise in your ears. I never experienced it, but others I've coached said it passes and may come and go during your withdrawals. Hearing sensitivity overall is an issue for many, and it sure was for me. I mean, every sound was like sandpaper on my brain. In particular, I remember every Thursday morning at about 6 a.m., the garbage truck would roll up, grab the can, and slam it into the back of the truck to empty it. Then they would grab the recycling bin and rattle it to empty it. I was in my house 50 yards away behind closed doors, and it made me want to jump out of my skin. Full transparency, noise irritation is one even years later I've not shaken yet and really can't stand loud stimulus for too long. I just got to distance myself, and you may need to as well. Loud sounds, sudden sounds, especially really mess with some of us. Like I said, be patient and don't put yourself in situations that you know might upset your issue if you can. It might not be the right time to attend a rap concert or a pro football game, so let's hold off on that for just a little while. Your nose, just like your eyes and ears, is interconnected to the rest of you and may act up some too. Simply put, your nose may pick up on scents that you wouldn't even usually notice. Many report acute senses of smell at this time, and women who already naturally have a keener sense of smell have told me this sense is super magnified. Some people smell scents that aren't even there, like coffee grounds, lemon juice, or even burnt hair. Mine was the smell of copper. I couldn't get it out of my nose. It was like a nude penny was jammed up there, and I hate the smell of it even today. If this is all sounding like a list full of crazy, I can only say I promise I'm not making it up, and it happens. Let's move a little further south again and look at your throat. A lot of people in withdrawals will experience dysphagia, which is trouble swallowing. They feel like there's a lump in their throat, and it's easy to get hyper-focused on it, but try not to. The swelling is usually due to an increase in your anxiety, which we will discuss in the next submodule. Friends, it too is gonna pass. Neck pain is common, and so is back pain. Both of these are usually due to the body being used to benzos, which are powerful muscle relaxants. There's a very simple answer to the various aches, and it only makes sense. When you stop using these muscle relaxers, your muscles tighten back up, and naturally you're going to feel it. Same with other odd aches. A lot of folks feel aches in places that never bothered them before, like in their jaws or joints. There are other phantom aches that come and go for no definable reason. And as miserable as they can make you, they will not last. Many, and me included, feel aches where bones and tendons have been torn or stretched before. Speaking of crazy sounding issues, there are the inexplicable and undefinable symptoms even the experts can't quite figure out. Sometimes your limbs just go numb. Sometimes it's just the hands or feet. For me, it was my feet. And on one of the few trips to get groceries, I was shuffling through the aisles looking like a crazy person when my numb feet kicked out and knocked over a display case full of fruit. I was very embarrassed, and there was no way I could explain to the nice lady helping me clean it all up what was going on. Sorry, ma'am, I'm in benzodiazepine withdrawals and my feet just sort of go the way they want. Didn't seem like a good excuse to me at the time. This once again can be attributed to rebounding anxiety as blood vessels constrict and your heart rate rises. Blood is constricted from the extremities, so you go numb. It's usually episodic and it comes and it goes. Treat it like a nuisance and watch it pass. Like we discussed, there's a reason it's called benzo flu, because withdrawals often mimic influenza in so many ways. Don't anticipate, but also prepare for extreme body temperature changes. 1 minute you're freezing, teeth chattering, wrapped in blankets and sweaters. 5 minutes later, you're sweating and clawing yourself out of all these garments, comforters, and ski socks you put on. You aren't crazy, I promise. Meanwhile, your skin may do some bizarre things too. Many experience tingling in their extremities. It's irritating but not life-threatening, I promise. Some report the feeling of spiders on or under your skin, which isn't much fun either. For me, it was one small location, the small of my back. Anytime the fabric of my shirt moved, it drove me nuts, and I'd sometimes lose myself around people, start grabbing and swiping at it. That one took about a year to sort itself out, and forget explaining it to someone because they sure as hell aren't going to understand you. Let's look at a few more before we wrap up this submodule. Don't be surprised if you have weird tremors and spasms in your muscles to add to the other unexplainable symptoms. These spasms can be really violent jerks at odd times. I had them, and mine only seemed to bless me with a visit while I was sleeping. I'd finally fall into my benzo flu sleep and my arm would just blast out in a salute, seriously alarming me and messing up my dreams. It happens. Others talk of restless legs and even inner restlessness. Benzo withdrawals also often lead to overall body weakness, and despite the inner restlessness you are feeling, likely you're going to get weak over your withdrawals, and who could blame you? You aren't sleeping, and when you try to sleep, you may just wake yourself with a salute. You also aren't eating, likely not exercising, and you feel like you're falling apart. Go easy on yourself. This too shall pass. To close, this may be a good time to discuss what many in the benzo community call windows and waves. Basically, it's a creative way of saying that you're going to have bad days during your withdrawals, which are called waves, then what are called windows when you feel much better. It's a very normal cycle. Just prepare yourself for it. One day you'll feel like it's all behind you. You're in a window and that feels amazing. Later that day, a wave may come and knock you back down. This too is normal. As your withdrawals peak, you will notice the waves are lessening. Then one day, the waves will be gone altogether and life is more of a window. So to wrap it all up, and before your eyes glaze over, remember I just hit the key physical symptoms. An outsider may think this all sounds insane, but I guarantee it is very real. That's why you owe no one an explanation, because who would believe it anyway? No one. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it will pass. You have the added blessing of knowing this is a small chapter in your life and better things are ahead. So, now that we've looked at the body, let's look at our minds. I'll see you in submodule 2, where we'll look at the neurological.